Hello and most welcome to 1852 of the H series. We will today continue with the article by Jorunn Okland to be found in the book The Way the World Ends. The Spectre Revealed and Made Manifest by Jorunn Okland. Last time we had a remarkable, I would say, coincidence. The ones that cover everything up and leave nothing to chance were mentioned in one sentence alone. And in that very same context, Hegel's dialectics were mentioned, and a fellow called von Holbach and his view of causality. Another German-speaking person of French origin with the very same name but spelled French, Dolbach, has been mentioned many times during the development of this series. And his views were also of determinism and fixed causality. Odd that two people with the same name or equivalent names are to appear proposing causality. We looked how Engels most probably is much more influenced by the Darwinian paradigm that took its start in the mid-1840s. From that time on, a more fixated Big Bang theory started to come, the Big Bang of life, where every step in the development of life is exactly determined without any, so to speak, quantum mechanical chance, only the chance of all the circumstances of nature, which, as we know, are completely determined by the Big Bang. That in together with a Hegelian determinism, the Hegelian fixation becomes yet another way of highly regulating everything. Leaving no room for freedom, happy coincidences, or synchronicities, which this von Holbach definitely is a part of. Everything becomes predetermined. The past is cut in stone and the future lies completely open. And human beings are pushed to the side demonetized into passive observers with only a slight possibility of guessing. It's a very insightful sight into what this lockdown is, also from the view of Hegel. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, which is such a big part in Marx's and Engels's theories. And we continue on the very same spot that we previously ended, the last word being suggest. So if we go down a bit there, I think. No, you perfectly spot on, thank you. 10. Why does the spectre keep reappearing? Reappearing. I have in this essay explained their use of the book of Revelation in the 1840s with reference to the expectations of the imminent end of the world.
Expectations of the imminent end of the world.
And 40 years later, with reference to the necessity of learning from history. I have also mentioned how it inspires hope for the socialist movement. Since it proves that even a little movement can grow fast and win access to a totally new and better society.
Better.
But there is probably more.
More.
The book of Revelation is the only biblical book that consistently returns in the oeuvre of Marx and Engels. This is a great paradox.
Paradox. The only biblical book. Paradox.
For in spite of the radical religionskritik, in spite of their contempt for utopian socialists who were too busy with the details about the world to come to be alert here and now, in spite of their uneasiness with having the role of Messiah and the prophet ascribed to them. They seem to accept the need for religious language and the common frame of reference that the Bible represented in order to communicate with the masses. the spectre must reappear. Is there a spectre I hear in the background?
Spectre. Spectre.
Thus, a good explanation for the prominent place of revelation in the work of Marx and Engels is found in the conclusion to Engels's 1894 essay on early Christianity. The core of the universal religion is there, but it includes, without any discrimination, the 1,000 possibilities of development, which became realities in the countless subsequent sects. And the reason why this oldest writing of the time when Christianity was coming into being is especially valuable for us is that it shows without any dilution what Judaism, strongly influenced by Alexandria, contributed to Christianity.
Without any delusion.
All that comes later is Western Greco-Roman tradition addition. It was only by the intermediary of the monotheistic Jewish religion that the cultured monotheism of later Greek vulgar philosophy could clothe itself in the religious form in which alone it could grip the masses. But once this intermediary was found, it could become a universal religion only in the Greco-Roman world, and that by further development in and merging with the thought material that the world had achieved. If we translate this to Marx's and Engels's own project, it would read approximately like this. The core
The
of
core.
universal religion can be found in the book of Revelation. But the subsequent Christianization of it excluded the 1,000 other possibilities of development contained in it.
Excluded.
Like ancient Greek Epicureanism, also Marxism as a philosophical, atheist, materialist, scientific, universal. Fantastic. Bravo. But it lacks appeal to the masses it wants to liberate.
Liberate.
Only by the intermediary of a monotheistic religion can Marxism clothe itself in the religious form in which it alone it can grip the masses.
Yes.
And so it did. On the content side, the book of Revelation had some features that fitted very well with Marx's and Engels's overall theory of historical development and overturning of the decadent, rich, and powerful of this world, represented by Babylon and her lovers.
Babylon and her lovers.
It also bizarrely fitted with a rather militant critique of institutionalized religion. Look what it predicts about the destiny of the religious centers. The Old Jerusalem, about superstitious worshippers of various pagan deities. They are all brought to an end. Further, Christ's language is conveniently absent, and in the New Jerusalem, there's no temple, since God and the Lamb are there anywhere. Anyway, Epilogue 11. A Marxist reader may feel offended by the way I have treated Karl Marx. I would like to respond to that and end with a final quote from Eagleton and a reflection. The founder of Marxism thus manages to wriggle out of the pincer movement to which his followers are often subjected. If you can describe a desirable future in any detail, you are the prisoner of some desiccated blueprint. If you cannot, you are a pathetic dreamer.
Oi. Pathetic dreamer. Pathos. Patmos.
As far as the future goes, Marx writes, the content goes before the form. Meaning perhaps that you cannot simply read off the nature of just society from the institutions set to establish it. The task of socialists ends with the transition itself. Thus, we may have here a final explanation for why Marx himself had very good reasons for using Revelation as allegory, but refrain from using it as a source to history, past and future. Revelation's imaginary language gave him form, but not content, a point of reference, but one that he did not have to stand by and remain faithful to. The disjointed tableau of the book of Revelation provided him with a dramatic form flexible enough to be open to the future. Thus, he can present the form in a spectral and ironic way,
Spectral.
and save the actual content for the future manifestation. Hooray!
Hooray.
And we reach the end of Jorunn Okland's article.
Hallelujah.
It took its time, it was very small print. Let's see here for some quotes. We can go to the previous page. underneath the subtitle 10. Down, down, down. And we go further down to the quote. Go down. And there is a quote from Engels himself. And at the end here, and the reason why this oldest writing of the line when Christianity was coming into being is especially valuable for us in that is that it shows us without any delusion what Judaism, strongly influenced by Alexandria, contributed to Christianity. All that comes later is Western Greco-Roman addition. Next page. And now he's looking for origin, the big bangs of Christianity, and it's amusing. Apparently, Christianity is not a unity, it's consisting of Judaism and Greco-Roman tradition and so forth. That is once more looking for the particulars and forgetting the relations. He makes a sort of atomism of Christianity. Say, oh, Judaism is an original. Well, what is the original of Judaism then? And then he will say it comes from the Akkadian religion. I think we already read something about that, the Sumerians. But what is the original of theirs? Well, the Sumerians were influenced by the Hittites and the Ugartians. And then we go back and back and back. Reductio in absurdum. Never going to end. It's the exact same tendency as looking for the homunculus inside our head, or the original Bible text, which is another one of those completely ludicrous things that doesn't make any language sense whatsoever. And on the proof side, we have further down on the same page here. The fourth line in the next paragraph. No, you went to the third one. There, the fourth line there. Like ancient Greek Epicureanism, also, listen now, brace yourself. Like ancient Greek Epicureanism, also Marxism is philosophical, atheist, materialist, scientific, and on top of that, universal. It has everything. It covers, and now in space, what Hegel covers in time. Thesis, synthesis, and thesis, antithesis, synthesis. And here you have in space, Marxism is atheist, materialist, scientific, and universal. It covers everything. It is the point from nowhere. It's the left hemisphere. It's the most definitely the cosmological fallacy, ABC. It covers all of reality. And just piling it up like that, I think it's called synecdoche, makes it even more, like piling up the things and then ending by universal. I read that last night and it was way too late and I started laughing. It has all those things. It's philosophical, atheist, materialist. And on top of that, on top of being scientific, it's universal. It covers every position in life. So one could see that the lockdown of Hegel, which is pretty determinate and fixed, giving no liberty, no chance, no happy incidents, no joy, I would say, no joy at all, is infinitely radicalized and made even a stronger claim of having all positions at the same time. It's a variety, as if you can see, of the Gil Christian mentioning of the British or English Civil War, I think it's called, when they tore down the altars and the crosses and said, now everything in the whole world is holy by itself. And they used the churches for toilets. It's obviously nothing after that was holy. We lost holiness because it is in a particular place, it is not universal. And as we mentioned in the previous lecture, a logic that is universal is not a logic anymore. If it's made to fit everything, it doesn't fit anything. It doesn't have any space at all. And this is exactly how I once upon a time encountered logic in the hands of professor's name was Dag Westerståhl. And he said, there could be some truths that are truth in themselves. No connection with anything outside the sentence. That is where Marxism is in this form. And in the epilogue, go to the quote. By Eagleton. Marx right, so that's a secondary quote. The content goes beyond the form. So there is this private language argument once more. The form is not the important thing, because if you have all knowledge in the world, you cannot literally have all the doings, but you have the content, you have the intention. You might not have the sign, but you might not have the signify, but you have the sign. So you can, in your own head, like a megalomania patient, have all knowledge in the world, because content goes beyond form. Private language in the head of Marx makes him all important, having all the meanings in the whole world in his little beetle box. It's like so convenient. So convenient. And of course, what happens? This, now we talk, the time period we covered was 1840s to the 1890s. What happened afterwards? Well, we had the Russian Revolution that led to a lockdown, a horrible society where gazillions, millions of people were disappeared and slaughtered, and that was reinforced. I think the worst example was Cambodia, where Pol Pot took it to the next level and made off with 1/3 of the population, something like that. This is absolutism at its worst. It is like covers everything, every aspect. I once had a conversation with a psychologist, and we start discussing some subject, and then she said, you know, me as a psychologist, I know why you're proposing the theories you do, why you have the opinions you do. And she presented this as an upper hand. So not only did she know psychology and science, she knew what was the reason inside of me why I said things. That was pretty offensive, but it also shows the point. This absolutism, or whatever it is, that, as Wittgenstein points to, it doesn't even reach within the person himself. Because without a use, without doing something, words will not have a meaning anymore. If you don't do complicated things and you start looking for justifications and say, I don't have to do anything anymore, and we give up practices and usages, there will be no meaning to the words. They will have no effects. They will no longer participate in the world because they are of the world, interrelated to the world, and this is how they work. Kalle, please enter it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, welcome. Join.
It's on this same page. I want to read from, on the content side, the book of Revelation had some features that fitted well with Marx and Engels' overall theory of historical development and overturning of the decadent, rich and powerful of this world, represented by Babylon and her lovers, Revelation 17. It is also bizarrely fitted with a rather militant critique of institutional religion. Look what it predicts about the destiny of the religious centers, the old Jerusalem, and about superstitious worshippers of various pagan deities. So here I want to comment on this, the old Jerusalem. So if Marx and Engels would have lived 100 years later, they would have said Rome here. So in the 19th century, when Marx and Engels lived, the paradigm among scholarship was that Babylon and her Babylon represented Jerusalem. So 50 years later, in the beginning of the 20th century, the paradigm changed. Now Babylon represents Rome instead.
Wow. So they found a new origin.
Yes, a new origin. Babylon is now Rome. And not Jerusalem.
Is it? That's just beyond belief.
And this expression here, Pincer movement, it made me think about the Möbius band. The founder of Marxism thus manages to wriggle out of the Pincer movement, to which his followers are often subjugated. But I don't think this movement is possible, really, because you still have the religious language. Derrida pointed out that in Enlightenment, the rational philosophers tried to leave religious language behind them.
Okay.
But it was not possible because the rational philosophers use themselves religious language because lighten something up that is very religious.
Oh yeah.
Totally not. This Pinse movement is not really possible.
Yeah. I see what you mean. Yeah, we did go into something similar when it come to Bernard and Kengelhem and Francois Jacob. How they used religious language and essentialism even and metaphysical concepts. Yeah.
Let me see. Today we started here below 10. So Marx and Engels seem to accept the need for religious language and the common frame of reference. So this is the paradox. This Marxism uses religious language. So you cannot never get rid of religion. Even Marx wasn't able. And it's really funny, this word core of universal religion.
Oh yeah, as well, yeah.
But it includes without any discrimination the 1,000 possibilities of development, which became realities in the countless subsequent sects. And the reason why this oldest writing of the time when Christianity was coming into being is especially valuable for us, as that it shows without any delusion what Judaism strongly influenced by Alexander contributed to Christianity. But it's a little bit paradoxical because in his earlier writing, Engels spoke about Philo, and Philo contributed to the Book of Revelation. Do you remember? Philo was
I remember now. Yeah. Good one.
Now,
Good
so he changed his mind again. So here in 1894, in contrast to what he wrote in 1883, that is only 11 years earlier, you have no delusion from Philo. Do you get it? So 11 years later, there is no delusion from Philo.
No, it's gone.
So it's only 11 years. There has been a big change in Engels. So in 1883, Engels says that Philo was the grounding father of Christianity. I could actually quickly show that paragraph so I don't deceive you. Let me see. Philo, where did we have that phrase about Philo?
Yeah, it's in itself a thing, isn't it?
So let me see.
So this I like it, yeah. Yes, so here, no, we have to go back to 1883. Here. So this is 11 years earlier. So what did he say here? 11 years earlier. So let me find the phrase about Philo. Yes, it was actually. Let me see. Yes, this is funny. So 11 years earlier, Engels said like this: we may call Philo the doctrinal father of Christianity. Seneca was her uncle. Of all these doctrinal elements, there is not a trace to be found in our Book of Revelation. So Revelation is pure. There is no Philo there, no Seneca. Good.
And
Very good point, Kalle.
Let me see.
We're about hitting the 1 hour mark here. I think we need.
Let me only compare it.
Yeah,
what
sure.
He says. I will soon end this. Let me see. What he says 11 years later. The core of universal religion is there, but it includes without any discrimination. Blah 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 blah. So he doesn't exactly say what he says about the book of Revelation, but I think he's still thinking that.
Yeah, it's a bit included in that, to be generous. Yeah, I would say.
So there is actually no Philo there. So it's not. He's actually not contradicting himself, but he's actually repeating the point about there is no Philo. So I was incorrect. There is no delusion. That is very important. Key phrases, key words is core and no delusion.
Yeah, I like those things.
And you could say, what is the opposition to core? It could be perhaps amalgamation. So amalgam. I don't know. Is it the English word? No. How do you write it in English? How do you amalgamation? How do you write it in English?
I know the meaning. I'm not an English speaker myself.
Yes, you actually. So I think he says that amalgam indirectly is the enemy of.
Yeah. It's very typical.
Instead, you have the core.
It's not the pure. It's not the original. And I heard that loads of time. We are practicing the true Christianity. We take away all the icons and all things that happen in the English Civil War and the 30 Years War. Purity.
That is actually the trait of all sects, almost sects.
Yeah.
Not all, but most.
I would say
we
all.
Go to the first century.
Very few are on the opposite role. Those are the one who's deflecting from the absolute pureness idea. And I would say the Father hymn in Sweden has been made more pure. Everything goes to purity. Take away the things and so forth. It's a tendency. Very good, Kalle. Yeah, very good. So, wasn't too bad. It was fun.
Yes, let's enter.
Yeah, thank you very much for participating. Have a very, thank you, Kalle Lundahl, and have a very lovely morning, day, or afternoon, wherever you are. Until next, bye-bye.